I present for you the choice for humanity. Dun dun. So check it out. It's a question of rights. See, one person will say, well, here, first of all, I might as well get the other option out of the way, because the other option is you just forget it all exists. And that's a lot of sweeping under the rug. So, back to the first option. One person will say, I have the right not only to have my religion not offended, not only to have my expression not offended, and not only to have my conscience not offended. All of these things equal something and create my state of mind and my personal presence. Therefore, I have the right not to have this reality touched. And another person will say, I have the right to touch anything I can see or perceive or feel with any of my senses, be them ordinary or extrasensory. And the answer is, well, this is the point where you want to decide whether you just forget it all or not, because the two rights cannot coexist. It cannot be both that I myself have the right to have my personal soul not touched, and you have the right, or another person has a right, in their freedom of conscience, to decide they get to touch anybody's soul that they want. See? Now, you could say right there, well, if you have to choose between one and the other, then you say, well, nobody can touch anybody. Some people would say the other thing, but here's where it doesn't make sense. I want the right of my soul to not be touched. Okay, so I can withdraw from the argument and you don't touch me, or I can take part and, that's the game. And you say you want the right to be able to touch whoever you want. Okay, so if you have the right, or if you have the right to touch whoever you want, that means I do not have the right to not be touched. And if I do not have the right to not be touched, that's because the right to not be touched does not exist. That means that you also do not have the right to not be touched. Now, we're talking about spiritually and with jinn and witchcrafts and all sorts of things like this. Psychological warfare, all these things. Now, if I don't have the right to not be touched and you don't have the right to not be touched, nobody has the right to not be touched. That means you must always be touched by somebody or you are breaking the law. Which means that you not only are a breaker of the law most of the time, it means you're also putting the burden on other people to make sure that you yourself fulfill the law and do not exceed your right, because you do not have the right to not be touched. It's pretty simple. You can't say that somebody has the right to touch somebody and at the same time the person has the right to not be touched, because what you're saying is the person has the right to touch somebody. Otherwise, the other person gets to fight for their life. But that's not humanity, that's not society, that's not civilization. It's not even civilized. It's a retardation if you want to go that way. So in the end of the day, the only way it actually works is if I have the right to not be touched.